Hey guys, I'm just sitting here in my car waiting for my kids to get out of practice, and I wanted to share with you my thoughts and my reaction to the Charlie Kirk Memorial, which was a phenomenal and beautiful experience to behold. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch it, especially the worship service that started 2 hours before it actually officially began. Check that out. As well as my thoughts for the Latter-day Saint community, because in light of what has happened recently, there's some pretty important things we need to really think about and consider. So as I watched the Charlie Kirk Memorial, I thought it was a beautiful building up, preparing people's hearts for a truly worshipful, Christ-centered memorial service. It's not perfect, right? Not everyone's speech given there was as Christ-focused or centered, but we were giving our respects to a godly man, and his life reflected a true Christian courage and discipleship. Because when I saw them singing those songs, and it were beautiful songs, I didn't really know any of them. But it didn't matter to me. It didn't matter that those aren't songs we don't sing in my church. It was amazing. And it really prepared my heart to really make this an experience that I thought, when President Trump spoke, a little bit of rambling there, but if you listen carefully, he was giving Charlie Kirk a ton of credit for a lot of things people didn't really consider. J.D. Vance talked about how Charlie Kirk's basically the only reason why he won his congressional race and then also became vice president. And Donald Trump talked about how Charlie Kirk was basically the reason why he got elected both times, especially the second time, and why they got so many youth voters. And I think he even said the black community, he got so many voters from them because of Charlie. There were a couple of other really amazing things that people attributed to Charlie's work. And it made me want to ask the question, what are we working towards? What are we building? Charlie Kirk talked a lot about building a family. Live a life that you could be proud of, a life that is centered on Christ. Latter-day Saints as a whole are having less children, especially in Utah, and it feels like the cultural perspective on what it means to be Latter-day Saint in Utah specifically is that I can have both a leg in the world and a leg in Zion. Watch how far I can stretch it. Right? I can accomplish and look just like everyone else who's super successful and rich and worldly, but also be a faithful saint, rather than putting more of their life's focus and effort on serving the way Christ wants them to serve. We need to make sure that we spend more time focused serving the Lord, and we aren't distracted by the world, even if by casual things. So hands down, the best speech given was Erica Kirk. I'm sure if you've seen it, you'd agree with me, and a lot of people think so as well. But the thing she said, the fact that she was willing to forgive this person, she says it out loud, and you can tell she really is forgiving them. And she's so focused on trying to help people return to Christ. Because no matter what you're going through, Christ is the answer. And she made that clear. And if we are disciples of Christ, if we follow Christ, do we really recognize that? Do we really turn to Christ, making Christ the answer to everything that we're going through? Or do we make him the best alternate? For example, do we have our favorite self-help books? Do we have our favorite videos or songs? Or we have certain psychologists and therapists we want to turn to when we are struggling first. We go to those things first. And then when those fail, then we go, well, I guess let me give this prayer thing a try. And how much effort do we put into the prayer thing? How much are we building our relationship with Jesus Christ? This woman with 2 very young kids, she only got to be married to that incredible man, Charlie, for 4 years. And now he's gone. How would that destroy you if you lost your spouse like that, or a dear family member like that out of the blue? where could you draw strength? We're never really ready for these sort of scenarios. So I don't want to ask, could you be ready? But is your heart, is your mind fortified upon the right foundation? That whole, the foolish man builds his house upon the sand song in scripture, and the wise man builds his house upon the rock. That's not just a fun little parable, a fun little story. That's true. Because I guarantee you, if Erica and her husband had not focused on the Savior and made him their foundation, this experience would have been far, far worse for them. Because everything is better with Christ. You can go through the worst of the worst, and he can take the edge off. And he can provide healing in our most desperate need. But we have to build our relationship with him. He's always there, but are we reaching out to him consistently? Have we developed that spiritual muscular strength to grab for his hand and hold on to it always? We're going to need that. And not just for dealing with hardships. We're going to need that because we need courage. So here's the last thing I want to say, and that is we need a lot more courage. Someone brought up, and I saw it was circulating on Facebook, and I wanted to reshare it as well, that now it's not so hard to understand why the people would choose Barabbas, a murderer, why they were willing to release him and murder the man who was willing to speak the truth without fear. It's not hard. It's not hard to now picture that because we have witnessed that. Where is our courage? You know, I feel like there's so many of us who ought to be awake and are not awake. And maybe this experience has awoken you, but I don't think it has unless you are actually committed to speaking the truth boldly. And even if it means it ruffles feathers and it means that it offends people, because if you're a disciple of Christ, you're going to try to do your best to make amends, but it doesn't mean you're going to back out and back off and quit on speaking the truth and doing the right thing. Christ sure did not. And neither did Charlie. Where is our courage? Charlie Kirk said that about half his staff are Mormons, which is a beautiful thing to hear. But I'm an active Latter-day Saint. I was in Utah for 11, almost 12 years. And it doesn't matter where I go. It is very common for Latter-day Saints to be more focused on being accepted and popular, especially in Utah, popular and accepted by others, as opposed to being a peculiar people, to quote the scriptures. The Lord wants us to be a peculiar people. We have to be willing to be courageous and stand up for what is true. And the fact that we've been so tiptoeing around the problems, and we're not really willing to discuss it nor come out about it for the sake of getting along and creating peace, well, now we don't have peace. I just want you to consider the fact that this martyrdom of Charlie Kirk happened in the state of Utah, which is really the central hub of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It should never have happened there. That place should have been a safe haven if we were righteous enough. I don't want this to become some sort of assumption that I believe, radically, that if you are just righteous enough, nothing bad will ever come to you. That's not what I'm saying. It would be a totally different thing if this man was some sort of assassin that came from a different state, that came in there to take out Charlie. But this man was a Utah-grown boy. And he got radicalized in Utah. He didn't go out of state to go to school and get radicalized. He got radicalized in Utah. Utah has become a hotbed of a lot of wickedness and of allowing evil to very comfortably set itself up. So I think we should really also take a look at ourselves. If you're in Utah and you're watching this, please recognize that it says a lot of damning things about the members and the state that we inhabit and the state that saints pioneered and created and turned into a beautiful haven. It says a lot that now is a place full of corruption, so corrupt It could have taken a boy who was raised in a Christian home. I believe he was raised LDS. I don't know if that's true or not. But either way, he gets radicalized in school enough to take the life of someone who was a very good follower of Christ, who was doing a lot of wonderful good in the world. But the Lord has his purposes, and the Lord knew it was time to call Charlie home. And that would have a tremendously good impact upon the world. But that also doesn't mean, though, that assassination and martyrdom is a good thing. We sincerely don't want people who stand for truth to die. So just think about that. If you're in Utah, find ways to start raising the bar there, raising the level of righteousness and comprehension of true gospel principles. But no matter where you are, I'm not in Utah anymore, but no matter where you are, it's our job to do that for our community and to be willing to make people mad at us, to allow people to have different opinions against us and even hate us because we're willing to do what it takes to usher in God's kingdom. And where will we stand when that happens? Will we be known as the people who ushered that in? Or will we be known as the people who were in the great and spacious building, who fought against it, who scorned the truth? Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate your time. There'll be another video out soon, but as always, live free until next time.
That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love.